Hello everyone, my name is Nathan and today it's time for another episode of Oxygen Not Included in the Ultimate Base 2.0. In between the episodes I tried out a couple of configurations and I came to the conclusion that we don't have enough cooling power with just one aqua tuner. So what I did now is take apart the bridge right here. What we can see now is one packet going into the aqua tuner and then the other one going through the cooling loop, because in this intersection nothing has priority. However, over time this is going to heat up our water. The question is just when are we gonna have the perfectly balanced setting? So the sensor is still set to 0 degrees, however we are pumping out the water at, we can actually now set it to 60 degrees because it somewhat seems to be working. And then the hydro sensor is set to 200 kilograms. So now the water we're sending in isn't necessarily as cold as before because of course it's always going to have the temperature of the liquid reservoir. Let's leave this running for a bit and then we get back to it. Today it's finally time to do the Rodriguez design. I'm going to do this by memory and somewhat give it my own touch so that I feel safe about it. Just like everything important, I would like to enclose this in ceramic insulated tiles. And I guess we can get started here right adjacent to the neutronium. Maybe I'm actually going to go ahead and just fill this up with normal tiles. Yeah, that might be a good idea. The next step in oxygen production are going to be the electrolyzers, using water in order to produce oxygen and hydrogen. We're gonna pump the hydrogen from the top and the oxygen from the bottom. We then want to make sure in a different contraption that the oxygen cools down. And obviously we're gonna distribute it among the base. And on the very top we're gonna make use of the hydrogen using hydrogen generators right there. I'm actually gonna make my way all the way to the top because I would like to expand this a little bit and make it even with our flooring. I think the newest update gave us a bunch of changes. First and foremost, I don't have the conveyor chute unlocked anymore. Even though we did that in a previous episode. I think it actually got moved from solid transport to the next research. It doesn't change anything, we've already built the conveyor chute, but I'm gonna have to redo this in order to get access to it again. Right now I'm just getting the other research out of the way so the next time we launch a shuttle, the rocket, we have something to research. I'm gonna build it from the bottom up, so this is gonna be the bottom floor. Let's build some ladders here and complete the side wall. Something else we could do, even if only temporary, is set up a transit tube system. Make this a little more accessible. We would be going through here and through there, just like that. Just gotta make sure we get rid of some ladders there. And also power, we have access to right there. We will probably also need some more ceramic, so let's get to it. Looks like Lindsay learned another skill point. We will have to go into improved carrying, which is good either way. And I guess we should also take care of Frankie. Totally forgot about him. Exosuit training. Sounds very good. I'm also gonna give May improved strength just because it's just one morale point. Marie, in the meantime, could make use of rocket piloting and the suit wearing skills. Yeah, I might actually do that. I think that's worth it. I can also send them to a different planetoid without a specialized pilot. And we're gonna do exosuit training as well. Same thing with Ren and exosuit. Wonderful. Anyways, let's get started with the design. At the bottom we're gonna need pumps in order to pump out the oxygen. We want to be able to fill approximately 3 pipes, therefore we're gonna need 6 gas pumps. Alright, then the electrolyzer is gonna use 1000 grams of water per second in order to produce 888 grams of oxygen and 112 grams of hydrogen. This means 2 pumps at the bottom can easily take care of 1 electrolyzer, and then we're gonna need 1 pump at the top. The temperature of the gases should be around 70 degrees. Considering this will have a overheat temperature of 75, this might be a close call, but I think it should work out, keeping this just under the overheat temperature at all times. Let's pause the game and reconstruct a couple of things so we can continue building. We could set up 2 electrolyzers on the right and 2 on the left, which means we have to build 2 more pumps to get the desired amount of 8. Now we also know the dimension of our room, so this is where I'm gonna build my ceramic tiles. Okay, I'll let them build for a little bit. Now we also have access with the transit tube and we can go to the next level. I would like to save myself enough space for 2 electrolyzers. Gonna have those guys right there and there. And of course we're gonna do the same exact thing on the other side. Depending on the design, we're gonna space them out a little bit more. Let's think about that. In the center I would like to have my power connection and we're gonna fill out the other piece of the center with a normal tile. we want to use heavy watt conductive wires, since all of this, once it's working, is not going to be accessible to us anymore. Next up, we're going to need a manual airlock on either side of this. Right here, we're going to have our hydrogen pump, and this essentially means we can move one electrolyzer a little bit over. What was I looking at? I did not build this in the middle. Hold on. Alright, it's fixed now. They are now evenly spaced out, feeding all of these pumps. We're gonna need to craft a whole bunch more iron, so let's get right to it. I also decided to dump the excess water every now and then into the pool down below. Eventually, I'm gonna pump this into my main source again. One more thing we can already do is set up the piping system for our pumps. The first thing I would like to do is bring these all the way up in order to do a failsafe check. We should not forget that two pipes always belong together, since they should be filling up one full packet of the pipe. Yeah, to be honest, I'm already gonna connect them right here and then lead them straight up in the center. That should be fine. You know what? I had a better idea. What if we make the way a little bit longer in order to get into the cooling loop, so that we can take advantage of the really cold water a little bit more? So I thought what we could try is wiggle around somewhat like this. We're gonna leave enough space on the left side in order to loop back and then go into here. This way I can send way more packets through at once and therefore make this maybe a little bit more efficient. If I can avoid going back in there, at least I would like to try. In the meantime, my piping system has been built. This is a nice setup in order to do the next step, which is some automation. We want to make sure that we only pump up oxygen this way. Sometimes maybe for whatever reason there is going to be an imbalance, and there is a way to do this in a simpler way, but there are still scenarios where it can fail, and I just want to make sure and double check that nothing goes wrong. So we're gonna use a gas pipe element sensor, and come on, give me the right overlay. I want to place this guy right here in each of the corner slots, also for the other side, and then we're gonna have one element sensor for the hydrogen as well. All we need to do now is set up a gas vent for each of these sensors, and we also want to connect each of those with a automation wire. Next up, we're also going to install a couple of Atmo sensors, one for the hydrogen here on the top, and then at the bottom we're also going to have one, let's put it in this corner. Each of these sensors taking care of their respective pumps. So this one can go straight through all of these pumps, and the lower Atmo sensor we're going to set up for the other pumps. We should maybe also already take care of some plumbing. We're gonna use insulated piping. Actually, maybe that isn't even necessary. We could get some additional cooling in there, since I definitely want to have my water below the 70 degrees. So we're gonna come through here using granite piping and hook up each of the electrolyzers with a water line. I think I also want to exchange my water pipes with insulated ones, and then continue my merry way over here towards the right side. We go below the cooling loop there, and I would like to bring this up through the wall here, so I think I'm gonna shorten the path for these tubes just a bit. So up we go at this point all the way over to where we need to be, not as high, and connect right there. Wonderful. I want to make sure this doesn't happen until we are ready, so cutting the pipe at one spot. In order to get to the final room, we're gonna need another heavy watt conductive joint plate, and then right here we're gonna have a whole bunch of metal tiles, probably made out of iron. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna go for. I don't have quite enough to finish this, but I'm already cooking up the rest of the materials. Finally, on the top we're gonna have a bunch of hydrogen generators. How much can they actually intake? 100 grams per second, so not quite as much as one electrolyzer can output. I think what I want to do is make this room accessible, and just for now we're gonna set up 2 hydrogen generators, and we might want to store the rest of the hydrogen somewhere. That still means that this here is going to be the ceiling of the contraption. Let's go ahead and remove these ladders. Most of the automation is in place. We want to set up the sensors. If we detect some hydrogen, for instance in this one, then we want to open up the vent. The hydrogen is only allowed to go through this sensor, so in contrast, if this sensor detects oxygen, then we want to open up the vent and release it again, because only hydrogen should go through here. And since we don't have any other gases producing in this room, we don't even need to set up a NOT gate. Also, both of these sensors are going to be set to detect hydrogen and release it in case we pump it up. At the same time, I don't want these pumps running while there is not enough oxygen in the joint, so we're gonna set this to be at least, let's say, 500 grams. And the same thing here with the Atmo sensor on the top and the hydrogen pipe. We wanna send a green signal if we are above, let's say, 100 grams. Or you know what, we could go with the values of the actual electrolyzer. So 888 grams, and this guy here is going to be 112 grams. If we set up a hydrogen generator right here in the corner, they have their gas input right here in the very first slot. I wonder if we could take some insulated pipes and then lead the oxygen through here. Let me see. We can bridge over here. We then take the second pipe, go like so. The third one would go like so. Actually, let's change the order here a little bit. This one is already going to connect right there. We now have 4 pipes full of oxygen that we want to cool down a little bit somewhere in this region, and then distribute it to wherever we need it, including the second planetoid. Okay, I think we're almost done. If we have a look at the pipes, I have now everything lined up. These are the 4 oxygen pipes, and then we have the hydrogen pipe right here. I also installed a vent that comes out of the main line here in order to fill up this room with hydrogen, and then the oxygen is going to be hopefully pressed out of the bottom left so that we can seal this room off as well. I also installed a signal switch so I can turn off all of these generators, and therefore all of the hydrogen can then continue into this line for me to use somewhere else. Not sure if I mentioned it, but the reason we have metal tiles here is in order to exchange the heat between these rooms, and we can keep everything cool with the newly produced oxygen. I just realized we left some refined metal there, so I'm gonna make my way back in to pick that up. But other than that, I think we should be fine, except I wanted to place some drywall as well, and maybe temp shift plates? I don't think in this room they're gonna be necessary actually. So everything right here is gonna be plastered with drywall. And the same thing on the top, but after that we're done building and we can set the machine in motion. Something else I set up is a pump right here in order to pump up the water at a certain temperature, and right now it's just going into my water reservoir. So I think as soon as we have a temperature below, let's say 30 degrees, then we want to start pumping it up. And now everything from my metal refinery is going up there, and it's being cooled down actively by the biome. At this point we probably also want to expand our solar array. We can build 3 more panels, maybe even 4. And it might also not be the worst of ideas to continue our battery array. I like it on the top here for now. Never had any complaints thus far. Something else I want eventually is a ladder system up here and another tile freed up so my hydrogen can travel upwards. Lindsay with another skill point in carrying. Yes, that's what we need for the last operation skill point. There we go, the lower 2 rooms are finished. Let's finally connect this pipe and see what we can do. Water is incoming into the electrolyzers. They should be producing some hydrogen as well as oxygen. Next up, we're gonna activate the pump, and the hydrogen should be going into this room. Actually, wait a second. Yeah, we need to change up this wire. That's not good. This way, unfortunately, the gas vent is closed, so we'll have to drag the wire above. Otherwise, I'm never gonna get my hydrogen. Okay, we actually get a little bit of oxygen in the hydrogen pipes because this gas vent is overpressurizing. This means we want to make our way back in here and maybe exchange all of these vents with the high pressure version. That might just be what we have to do. There we go, said and done. Every gas vent has been exchanged. I'm gonna reset my Atmos sensors so the pumps can go on. And there we go, now the hydrogen is actually flowing upwards. I only want this one to be a normal gas vent, so the pressure upstairs is gonna be 2 kilograms. So eventually the hydrogen is gonna accumulate up here and the oxygen is gonna flow out towards the bottom left. Okay, to get this working entirely, obviously we're gonna need to make use of our oxygen. In order to do that, I would like to send it through a cooling loop. Let me see. So if we, for instance, go down at this point, line all of our pipes up like so, and then we run it through a couple of tiles in order to cool it down. We're gonna use radiant gas pipes, and I'm guessing we want to go with steel at this point. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tiles of steel in order to cool down the oxygen. We can then use metal iron tiles in order to fill this up. And we're gonna surround it with a layer of ceramic. Yeah, I think that should work out. And I'm guessing for the hydrogen, we're just gonna release it into the base and let it flow upwards. Where we can, but not necessarily must use it. In this case, I also want to reroute the water slightly, so it doesn't go through my cooling system. Okay, I kept on building a little bit and decided that we're gonna use the chill of this biome in order to cool down the oxygen. The way I've done this now is I just made some unimportant insulated sandstone tiles here. It is surrounded by a ceramic layer, however, And if we have a look at the piping system, this is how it goes right now. All of our oxygen pipes ready. The hydrogen pipe I extended a little bit, and I'm also going to make a tiny hydrogen room right here that is connected to the cold biome. But in order to be able to get everything activated, we now have to distribute our oxygen. The first thing I would like to do is bring the oxygen through here. We're gonna go all the way up and connect this to our atmosuit docks. We are then gonna use this pipe right here in order to do the same thing on the other side. So this is gonna go through all of these pipes. And that also means we should be able to disconnect the other oxygen system. The other two pipes I'm gonna leave be for the time being. I don't think we need them in this base. However, as soon as we connect the second planetoid, this is gonna become much more useful. I also built all of these pipes out of steel. They're gonna be covered by a metal plate out of iron eventually. Also, instead of routing the power through the place that I want to keep cool, we're gonna go slightly more up and we're gonna come down from the top. So approximately right here, I want to poke through, then we want to go down again. We also want a layer of ceramic here, need to free up some more space. I just decided instead of a hydrogen room, we're gonna use water in order to fill this up. This is not only gonna spare us the time to vacuum this room out, but it's also gonna come with more heat capacity. Right now, these things have to go to work a little bit. Looks like we are connected up at this point. Oh yes, that's exactly what I wanted to see. Just a little bit to go on the other side there. And I'm guessing right here I will have to cheat my way inside a little bit to be able to build this. All the gas pipes are now hooked up. That means we're gonna decommission our old oxygen system. Cool, I never thought I'd see the day, but we do not need this any longer. To improve the distribution of the oxygen, I'm gonna set up a couple of bridges here in order to direct in which direction the oxygen should flow. Slowly but surely my plan is adding up. This room is filling up with hydrogen. When that is done, I'm gonna close it off and then we can finish the contraption. Right now the oxygen is already cooling down, actually even more than I would like to. We're cooling it down to approximately 0 degrees. And that is of course because it is already very cold in this biome. But essentially, we just need to wait a little bit for the hydrogen and then we can continue. Wonderful, hydrogen is filling out this entire room. That's exactly what I wanted to see. Let's go ahead, build some insulated tiles here and wrap this up. In terms of automation, all we really need is a thermosensor that I'm gonna place right there. And this is going to lead directly into the door. After the door, we have some metal tiles. I made these out of steel. And just below the door, we're gonna have the water. If we close the water is touching the door and therefore cooling down. And if the door is open, the water and the metal tiles are going to be divided by a vacuum and therefore not transferring any heat. It's really as simple as that. We still have to build a couple of metal tiles to wrap this up above the steel pipes, and then I guess we can finish everything with drywall. Yeah, this should be fairly straightforward, just drywall all over the place. Looks like I'm struggling a little bit more with this oxygen pipe, so we should divide this maybe after 3 atmosuits. So right now it only has to deliver the first 3 atmosuits and the other atmosuits are being taken care of by the other pipe. Okay, we're practically done here. I already prepared the water pipe. We only need to hook this up here. And there comes the precious water. Now I need to be careful here a little bit. Don't really want this to drop below the 0 mark. I honestly don't think we're gonna need this many water tiles. I'm gonna build up the metal tile wall a little bit more. Okay, let's hold the water for a second. We already have enough. All we needed for it is to touch the water. Now we can go ahead and close off this room for good. Wonderful. As for the thermosensor, we want to send a green signal as soon as we are below 20 degrees, at which point we're gonna open up the door and therefore not transfer any chill anymore. Of course, it would be a little bit better if we were to build the metal tiles inside of the biome, really. I really think we might have to consider that, just taking a little detour here. And that would mean we could build a bunch more tiles, maybe all the way up to this point. You know, this is really bad no matter what we do. I think I'm just gonna come from the top with the power this time around. So let's say we go all the way over here and then all the way to the top. Alright, at this point I think we're pretty much done. I'm now tapping into the cold biome this way. We can suck out the chill for a couple of 100 cycles, I would say. The door is actually already open, which means the water is below 20 degrees and therefore also the tiles are around 20 degrees, which then in turn means my oxygen is gonna come out around that temperature. With a constant flow, it seems to be a little bit above the temperature, so we can go even lower. Let's set this to 15 degrees. I would like the oxygen to be around 20 degrees. And we can actually see right here in the sensor, this is working phenomenally, pushing down the temperature of the water. And then all of these metal tiles have a nice chill in them. Wonderful. That means we can get rid of our piping system here again, and we can declare this design to be finished for now. I don't think at this point I will have to access it any longer, and we still have 2 unused pipes. Pretty good, I would say. As usual, we will have to observe it over time. Also, let's have a look back here at the cool steam vent. Yeah, looks like we were capable of pushing the water below the 60-degree mark. That is not too bad. As far as I could tell, we could keep up with the vent, and it never overpressured, which means we get the entirety of the liquid. Alright, I would say with that out of the way, let's wrap it up for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to support the video. You would make my day. But with that out of the way, have a great time, and hopefully I'm going to catch you in the next one. Bye bye.